Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to Meet the Minds by BMC AIU. I'm Tengku Ruzana, your host for today. And aligning with AIU's 3-0 principles, zero unemployment, zero poverty, and zero carbon emission, today we have somebody who also shares the same values. So let's welcome Sarah Massaoudi.
Assalamualaikum. Thank you so much for having me.
Waalaikumsalam. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Okay, have you had your lunch yet?
No, not yet.
It's okay. We'll get it
later.
after.
Yeah, after this.
All right. So I heard you're a program director at this Fugee.org. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay. And also, Fugee also has these two parts where it's Fugee School and Fugee HiEd. Okay, can you tell me more about it?
Yeah, of course. So Fugee is a local nonprofit organization, and we focus on improving life outcomes for refugees through education mostly and development opportunities. And so we have two flagship programs, Fugee School, which is a school from kindergarten all the way to secondary. And then we have Fugee HiEd, which offers different programs to help students access and complete tertiary education, as we're also expanding into vocational training, entrepreneurship. So basically just bringing them to livelihood opportunities and uplifting them.
I see. So basically, Fugee School is an actual place where you offer education.
Yeah,
and for the HiEd, it's like a stepping stone to the next level.
Yes, that's correct.
I see. Also, I heard that you're all the way from Belgium, right?
Yeah.
How are you suddenly here in Malaysia? Can you tell me more about that?
I traveled here and I fell in love. That's the short story. Yeah. So I've been
Only
here.
life was that simple.
Yeah. I worked towards it. Alhamdulillah, Allah opened the right doors for me, and I've been here for 4 years and I love it. And I'm now married to a Malaysian, so hopefully here to stay.
Well, can you speak a little bit of Malaysian now?
Boleh.
Oh.
Cakap sikit-sikit, tapi susah sikit.
Oh, okay, but that's actually not that bad.
Thank you.
Like, you're getting there. It's okay.
Inshallah,
4 years, maybe in the next 4 years, you'll be able to speak full.
Yeah, I hope so. I have a son now, so I hope once he goes to school and he has Bahasa Malaysia classes, I will go with him and together we will learn to speak.
Maybe he will teach you Malay.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay, but have you always been doing like helping the refugees and programs like this ever since in Belgium?
Yeah, so I'm a trained social worker. I started out as a case manager, so more individual support. And then I realized that a lot of people were coming with similar problems that were created by the structures, not so much because there's something wrong with them or they're not strong enough or they're lazy or all of these misconceptions that exist. So I really wanted to pivot towards more community development and more structural type of social work. And so I worked around education and employment in Belgium, also around housing. So those, for me, are three very important catalysts for change. You know,
Yeah.
if you fix those things or if you support people in those areas, it really can make a very big difference in empowering them and uplifting them out of poverty or any type of social issues.
I see. Okay, but you mentioned about how you traveled here and then you fell in love, so you stayed here. Was that the main reason why you moved, or was it because you noticed about the refugee percentages here in Malaysia?
No, it was more once I moved here and I started looking for a job, I started searching in the areas that interest me and that I want to make a difference in. And so refugee sector was something that I was interested in and experienced in, and then I found Fugee, and yeah, I applied for the job, and I started as a project officer first, and then as I've been working there, then became the programs director. And it's something that I'm very passionate about, and I think it was something that shocked me a little bit when I came to Malaysia, to be honest, to see how they don't have any legal access to education, employment, all of these very important human rights, and I wanted to contribute to that.
But I think it's great. You're able to continue. It's so nice to be able to work something that you're very passionate at, because it's a daily thing.
Yeah. It's definitely a privilege, and it's also an amana, right? And I think it's something that I'm really lucky and blessed that I'm able to, work in something where you can put your good intentions, and at the end of the day, there's so many problems, so you cannot fix everything, but you can only do your best every day and
gradually.
Yeah,
it takes somewhere. It starts somewhere.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but have you been for like Fugee? when you started applying, was it like the very beginning of Fugee, or actually Fugee has been long established?
Yeah, so Fugee's been around for 16 years already, so they were around. But I think when I entered, they were in a phase of really professionalizing, upscaling. So since I've joined Fugee, the growth and the expansion has been really, very big and very exciting. So only recently we moved to a much bigger space, to a new location, and now we have like a proper school. Before this, we were like in like small shop
Like a tuition
lots,
center?
yeah, like shop lots actually, and then our students only had like half-day school because we didn't have enough space to
Cater to these students.
cater to all of the students. So now they have full-day classes. They have a much more holistic curriculum, and so we've been growing as we go.
Oh, that's lovely. So where is it located exactly now?
It's in Setapa, like on the border with Kumba. Yeah.
So may I know, how do you get these students? Like, do they search for you, or Fugee itself search for these refugees?
Yeah, so it depends. For a Fugee school, they will find us because we cater to the area, and there's a lot of refugees in the neighborhood. So they come. Of course, we also put out on social media when we have slots available. For Fugee HiEd, we really had to go out there to introduce the program because it's a much younger program. We've only been around for about 5 years, and a lot of refugee youth didn't know about our existence, of course, when we first started, or even today. So in the beginning, we did a lot of outreach in KL and the Klang Valley area. But last year, we also realized that we really need to go to other states as well. So we went to Penang to do outreach sessions there with the community. So we really do put a lot of effort in making sure that every youth who fits the eligibility criteria of our program knows that we exist so that they can apply, because we didn't want it to be an only, if you're already in our circle, you get these opportunities.
Because that will defeat the purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if you're, a kid in Penang who wants to study and you don't know about us, then, and you also deserve. So we also do a lot of outreach.
So how many countries do you have right now?
More than 10, yeah. So, of course, in Malaysia, the biggest refugee population is refugees from Myanmar, and then mostly the Rohingya refugees. And then, other than that, you have refugees who come from Middle Eastern countries, African countries. And so, in our school, we have a lot of students who are Somali, because in the neighborhood, it's a predominantly Somali community. But our HiEd program, since it's across the country and it's not located in one place, is very diverse.
Okay, it's actually similar to, I've heard that there's also a refugee school called Tibian. It's around KL as well. I think it also shares the similar values as in catering to these students and trying to get them to get education.
Yeah, there's a lot of alternative learning centers, and we always try to partner with them as well, because you have different schools and alternative learning centers, as we call them, for refugees, that some only offer primary, some offer only secondary. So it's good to have these partnerships so that students, can be redirected to the right partners at the right time. And at the moment, as far as we know, Fugee HiEd is the only one that does something post-secondary.
So there's not much around, like... any other places that also does this HiEd for the refugees?
No, the higher education scholarship, we're the first of its kind even in Southeast Asia. So for a lot of the refugee learning centers, when their students graduate with a secondary certificate, they will, redirect them to Fugee HiEd to apply for the scholarship, to give them an opportunity to pursue their studies.
So for the HiEd, I'm actually curious, because you mentioned about you help them with getting the scholarships and trying to help them to get to a higher education. So is it that you search for any universities that offer scholarships to these students, or how is the process exactly? Like, tell me more about it.
Yeah. So our scholarship program is our biggest program, and we do a lot of things around it to make sure that students are ready to enter university, because that's the first thing, of course. They need to be prepared. And then when it comes to the scholarship, students can apply to any university, and once they get admission application or even like a confirmation that the university has received their application, that's their proof for them to apply to the scholarship. But because it's so hard to find universities that accept refugees, we do a lot of outreach to the universities as well. We talk with them, we explain the refugee situation, we see how we can partner with them, both in Malaysia and abroad actually. So we also have lots of students who study with universities in the UK, for example. So it's a bit of both. The students do their part, they search for universities, they apply like any university student would, but we also try to support and open doors where it's very hard for them sometimes to, find these doors.
Yeah, but it's really important for the students as well to, show initiative. At least that they're actually willing to study, because it's a very, what do you call this? It's a tricky process, especially for these people. But, okay, talking about how you help these people getting the scholarships, getting the higher ed, may I know if these, they're fully funded, are they?
So our scholarship is 30,000 ringgit for 3 years. So before this, it was fully funded, but because the need is so big, we decided to cap it so that we can help more students with, with the scholarship. But yes, so they apply once they apply for our scholarship, and if they get accepted, they get tuition fee support, so the 30,000 for their education, and then we also offer a lot of support around that. So we do professional development opportunities, a lot of workshops with industry experts. They have access to industry mentors. We organize networking events. They also have access to free mental health support, which is of course very important.
Yeah.
We also do all kinds of personal development workshops with them. So it's really a broad range, and also just fun activities so that the scholars have a community, because a lot of them are studying in different universities. They may not have, and some of them online, they may not have the same university experience or student life experience as maybe some locals and regular students. So we try to create all of these opportunities, because we do believe that education is super important, academics and all of that, but all of these extra things are really what ensure that when they graduate, it's not just the paper that they've gotten out of this process, but they really have grown in confidence, in knowing themselves, in networking skills, all of these extra things that are especially important for them, because when they enter the workforce or the labor market, they already have that disadvantage, they're a refugee.
They're quite of the minority, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So they really got to chase the spot for that.
Exactly, yeah. So, and we also more recently started an internship program. So that's another way we both offer internships with Fugee, as well as reach out to companies and organizations to ask them whether they want to place our scholars. So those are like I said, all of those things are very important to make sure that we really are trying to create scholars who can then uplift themselves, uplift their communities.
I know some of the, usually maybe you guys take the kids for the lower education and also higher education separately, but as of now, do you guys have any students from the Fugee school that are now continuing into high ed?
Yes, of course. Yeah. So, just like any other student, Fugee school or any other student from an alternative learning center in Malaysia, or anyone who's refugee, asylum seeker, or stateless. So we also have stateless Malaysians actually that can apply to our scholarship. So we also have Fugee school students who actually do the full process. We also have a program which is called CERT, Connecting and Equipping Refugees to Tertiary Education.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a bridging program that we do after secondary to make sure that they know how to apply for university, how to present themselves. And so some students have really done the whole journey, and it's really nice to see, because that's our hope, that every student who goes through the Fugee ecosystem, as we call it, is able to create their own life opportunities and create livelihood opportunities for themselves.
Yeah, of course. It's a basic human right, education. Everybody needs it.
Exactly.
And also aligning you need education to get a job, right? So it helps with it aligns with the zero that I mentioned just now, zero poverty and zero unemployment. So I think that's really amazing. And I'm so happy that there's something like this that's going on. But okay, now talking about how you've got these people, so many from many different countries. how do you handle the situation? I mean, of course, there's different kinds of people. How are you able to handle so many, even us as individuals, even in the same country? It's so normal for us to have different criterias, different situations, but of course, more on these people from literally different countries. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, so we invest a lot in socio-emotional learning. In our school, we have a partnership with Humankind, which is a mental health service provider. So they also come in. So we have counselors, in the school that come in a couple of days a week. We also have a social worker in-house. So we have all of these, things that we put in place to make sure that, because it's not only about the different countries and the different cultures, we're also talking about a community that has gone through a lot, right? Maybe sometimes not they themselves, but even the trauma of their parents can affect them, the struggles that they still
of
have
course,
here in
because
Malaysia.
they're basically the same people.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we also make sure that our teachers go to through workshops that are about trauma-informed learning, so that they can recognize, some of the behaviors that may indicate that a child is struggling. So yeah, there's a lot of things. It's not one solution, but we try to do a lot of things to create a safe space and to create an environment where students can grow, both, as I mentioned, in their academics, but also as a person, and grow more resilient. Because even after Fugee School and Fugee HiEd, when they enter life, there's going to be a lot of struggles. So we really want to make sure that they can stand their ground, and that's something that we really emphasize on a lot.
Yeah, but not just struggles, especially as somebody who's an outsider from this country, and the way that they have to go through so much just to get an education. How do you handle for those people trying to get internships that feel intimidated in this world?
Yeah, so that's really hard, and I think, as I mentioned, we try to do these personal and mental health workshops, etc., to add to that. But I think just the fact that now we have students who have gone through the system and who are now ambassadors, right? We have, like, for example, one story of one of our scholars, Zalan. When I met him actually in maybe the first 2 weeks that I was working at Fugee online. I was doing some interviews, and he told me his story, and it really impacted me so much, because he had written a gazillion emails to universities, to try to get accepted. And it took him so long to finally, so many didn't respond, some rejected him, it was very hard. And eventually he found a university that he could study with. But then the university got audited. And because he was technically not allowed to be there, he was, then he had to discontinue his studies. And then he found a university online, but it was too expensive. He couldn't afford it. And then he found out about the HiEd scholarship. And so he became a scholar. He got his degree, and what is more amazing is that he then applied through Talent Lift, which is a Canadian program that allows immigrants and refugees to come to Canada to work. And then he applied to that opportunity, and the only way he could apply to that opportunity was because he had a degree. So now we're seeing more and more of these cases where if you give them this education and you give them these tools, then they're also able to access opportunities that otherwise would also not be open to them.
Exactly. I mean, they could have, if they didn't have that education, they wouldn't be able to reach to that level.
Yeah, and stories like these, and we have many more examples, I think are also helping then the younger ones, the community, to see, okay, this is possible. I don't, because before, schools like Fugee and others existed, and before the HiEd program, why would they even make an effort to study? Because they only know, even if I study,
it's pointless.
It's pointless.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end up in exploitative jobs maybe, or in other.
Yeah, that's really sad. There's a lot of cases where these people ended up in exploitative jobs, not because they want to, but they're desperate. That's the only means of life.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think if that's the only thing and you see around you, then your motivation is gonna be less. You're not gonna believe in yourself, in potential opportunities, or in a potential future. And so that's why these programs, not only ours, but from other partners who are out there as well, are so important, because the more of these success stories that we have, the more it can also show others that there is a way. It's still hard, even with everything.
But it's not impossible.
Yeah, but it's not impossible, and that's very important.
Yeah. Maybe you can send more of the HiEd to Al-Bukhari International University because we cater to all of these people, right? Now, how do you make sure about the school, knowing that even when they're in their HiEd, it's very hard for them to get accepted? So how do you make sure that the Fugee school actually is... that they're not restricted to the legal barriers, like making sure that it is acceptable for them to continue their higher education? So how do you do that?
Yeah, so we inform them about the pathways that exist, right? So when they're in their year 8, year 9, and then through the program that I mentioned, CERT, those are all moments where we try to give them the information that we have, that we show them, as I just mentioned, some of the success stories. So that way they know, okay, this is how to navigate this. As mentioned again, it's still hard and the barriers are still there. But once you know and you can connect with the right people, then it really helps. Yeah.
How old again is from Fugee? Like for Fugee school?
How old the students are?
Yeah.
They start at 4 years old and then all the way up to, usually they will be a bit older when they graduate because they've had like disruptions in their learning and the late learning. So yeah, it can go up to 21, 22. Yeah.
Meaning the building is actually really big then, considering that you can cater to many age groups of students, right?
Yeah, so now we have about 260 students. I think we're at our capacity, so not that big. But with Fugee, we try to not only focus on our own school, but we're also doing a lot of programs around it. So to actually support the other ALCs out there, because there's a lot of ALCs in Malaysia, alternative learning centers. So that's what we call refugee schools. About 150 more or less. It goes up and down. And so we're starting this program to actually build somewhat of a toolkit, because we've been around for a while, and to share our learnings, curriculum, resources on how to manage a school, how to do teacher trainings, all of that. So that way we hope to increase our impact beyond the ones that fit in the building.
Yeah. So do you guys interview these people before they were able to get accepted, or is there no interview required?
For the children, you mean?
Yeah.
For the students? So there's a placement test. So once we have slots, we can open up placement tests for the years that are, where there's capacity. And then depending on how they do, we assign them to their years, because as mentioned, we cannot go off of age, because some of them might be 8 years old but never have entered the school, or even older,
so they have to start from the very beginning.
So
like
we
start
also
from
have a
scratch.
foundation class, because of course you're not going to put an 8-year-old in kindergarten, which we then can help them bring them up to a level where they then can enter more or less their age group. Yeah.
As of now, how many teachers do you guys have?
I think around, I'm not entirely sure, but I think around 20. Yeah. So we're growing, yeah.
Are they international as well, or are they refugees as well?
Yeah, it's a very mixed pool. So we have mostly Malaysians and refugees. I don't think any internationals for the teaching staff. Yeah,
but that's amazing. That's actually a lot. 20 teachers for a refugee school. I think that's a lot.
Yeah. So we're, as I mentioned, we now have full learning hours, and we have from kindergarten all the way to year 9 and a GD class. So if all those classes are in session at the same time, we need quite a bunch of teachers. So we have teachers and then still teachers assistants as well, and
so they can all go simultaneously, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So how are the school hours there?
It's from 9 to 4, if I'm not mistaken. I mostly focus on the HiEd program.
Oh, yeah,
9 to 4.
Okay, now that you've mentioned about how you're focusing on the HiEd program, and you're a program director.
Yes.
So what is exactly that you do here? Because I know you're very passionate about what you do. So I'm sure that even for the things that you're not working, but you also know because of how passionate you are. But you yourself, exactly, like what is your job desk over there?
Yeah, so I lead the team that works on the projects under the HiEd program. So as I mentioned, the scholarship is our bigger, and then we have some other programs. I think most importantly is looking at what are our long-term goals, right? What is the strategic direction that we want to go, that we want to have, and then making sure that our programs fit that. Because a lot of times, we don't want to just have activities because they look good and we can take nice pictures or whatever, or we can tell nice stories, but they're not having a real impact. So that's something that last year, together with the rest of the executive management team, we really looked at what does success look like to us? What does that mean? And for us, it means, once students graduate from the Fugee ecosystem, let's say, whether it's through HiEd or if we have whether it's through a bachelor's degree or a vocational training or, the different pathways that we want. After 5 to 10 years, they should be able to, have a stable income, support themselves. So it's a very long-term goal, and we actually made it harder for ourselves, right? We could have just said, we're just going to count how many graduate Fugee school and how many graduate,
and we're done. We'll let you done. But, no more.
Yeah, but education is, a means to an end. It's not just the end. If the paper is not, opening
valid,
doors or valid, whatever, then it's not doing what we want. So looking at that is my job, like looking at those indicators and making sure that our programs and everything that we do, the workshops, is contributing to that. And then, of course, leading the team and going out, finding partners, finding funds, which is also very important. So
it definitely is not an easy job, considering that there's so many steps to it. Even the first step itself is like a very tedious ways to do. But I also heard that you recently had a baby, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so did that change how your working schedules, like is there any difference or that impacted you?
So I recently went back to work about 3 weeks ago, so I'm still figuring it out. It's quite challenging, but I'm lucky I have a very supportive boss, so I'm able to work from home a bit more. I can, manage my schedule in a way that I can still give time to my baby, but also be back at work, especially, there's so many things that we're working on right now, so many big goals that we have. So I do try to also invest a lot of time in my work still, But I think becoming a parent and also, now having all of these dreams for my son, it breaks my heart even more knowing that there's almost 50,000 children and youth in Malaysia that don't, there's 50,000 children and youth, and about 70% of them not in school. So I think of that, and it's so crazy because what are they doing, and why are they denied the basic access to an education and denied the opportunity to grow up, fully and take charge of their future. So it's something now that's I already felt for the children and the youth, of course, but now even more so because, I cannot imagine, right?
Yeah, it's definitely heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. You also mentioned that how you guys try to get funds and whatnot. Are any events trying to get these funds involving these students? Like these students also participate in the events of getting these funds?
Yeah, so sometimes we have donors who come visit, who come, to the school, and then we, for example, have students who give the school tour. We've had fundraising events in the past where students would make art, and then we would sell the art. So we do try to involve them, but at the same time, we try to be mindful of not using them.
We don't want to exploit them, and then suddenly it's child labor.
Yeah, exactly. It's still children, and also you want to still protect them. So it's always a balance,
There's like this line, this line that you have to not cross.
Yeah, that you have to balance, and we also don't want, content where you're exploiting their stories, but at the same time it's also what people connect with. So really finding that right sweet spot, that's what we try to do.
I know there's a lot of stories and nothing can compare, but is there one story that's like that you could never forget because how sad it is among these people?
I don't know if there's one story. I just mentioned Zalan's stories, and I think for me that one is so it's hopeful, and I think that I hold on to that. Of course, there's also sad stories. I remember there was this girl who went through the CERT program, which is supposed to prepare them for higher education and to apply for our scholarship. And she was really exceptional. She was really amazing. And then she did apply for the scholarship, and she came out as one of the highest scoring applicants. So we offered her the scholarship, and unfortunately she had to turn it down because her family needed her to work because they're in such a dire situation, and that really broke my heart because I knew how exceptional she was and how much she wanted to study, but of course you can also not fault the family, because even if your tuition fees are covered, there's a cost to studying, right? Transportation, and just the fact that her time cannot be invested in
it cannot be
working.
divided.
Yeah. So I think that one also stayed with me, because I was just so happy when I saw that she came out, because I knew her personally, and then when she called me, and there's not much you can do. So that kind of like made me realize that this is the problem with structural limitations and barriers, right? Even if you have these programs around, at the end of the day, if education is not accessible for students and for youth, then there are still gonna be people who fall through the cracks, or how to say it. Yeah. So and it's so sad, because we truly believe that no child, no youth should be left behind, and we try to work on that. But even then, it happens. Yeah.
The fact that it's a basic human right, but it's still seen as a privilege, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, to me as well.
So in her situation, let's say she works, and maybe someday she is like she has the time enough. Can she actually like maybe come back and continue an education, or is there an age limit to the HiEd?
At the moment, our age limit is 35, but we have been known to make some exceptions. But yeah, we cap it at 35 at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, I hope she gets the education she deserves
she was
very
still very
soon.
young, so yeah, hopefully.
Aww.
Yeah.
So what's one misconception that people commonly have about refugees that you wish people would know?
Yeah, there's so many. Yeah, but I think people think that they come here to quote unquote, take jobs or take things away from Malaysians.
They can't even get the education. Taking their job is just something crazy.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of misinformation and misconceptions, as you mentioned, especially now. There's a lot going on, if you guys have seen on social media, about Rohingyas, about them wanting land, and all of these basically fake news. And it's really sad, because the things that these people have gone through, you don't wish on your worst enemy, or I hope you don't wish that on your worst enemy. It's very, very traumatic. It's been going on for generations in some of these cases. They don't have anywhere to go back to. Like, none of us would want to leave our house, our home, our safety, where everyone, your neighbors, your friends, your family. It's not a choice that you make lightly, and especially for those who come by boats or other dangerous roads,
means of travel.
Yeah, means of travel. It's you don't do it lightly, and the fact that they're here is because they need safety, and I think a lot of them are grateful that Malaysia provides that safety. But at the same time, of course, if they're here and they're not allowed to exist, to like you said, access education, employment, all of those things, then it's very, very hard, and it creates actually then social problems that could be prevented by just opening,
the doors
to them. Yeah.
It's really sad to hear about it, but it's amazing, and I'm so thankful as well for your dedication. You're doing something for these people, all the way from Belgium to Malaysia, helping other people. I think it's really amazing, and I hope that a lot more schools will advocate for this mission.
Yeah,
Inshallah.
I hope so too. Yeah, I think once people would understand, or I hope, the situation, I hope people really make it, like you said, their mission to advocate for them and to help in any way possible. Either it can be by donating, it can be by volunteering, it can be by, if you have a company, providing internships or employment. If you're a school, opening doors, giving scholarships. There's so much that we all can do, and it cannot be on a small number of NGOs or a small number of people. We need a lot of people to make this work, and to create sustainable long-term solutions.
It takes a whole team, they say.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think it really aligns with you actually are directly helping these people into like zero poverty and zero unemployment to these people. And I hope, like I said earlier, about how I hope a lot of people will advocate more for it, and more people will be more aware about these situations. And I'd like to say thank you so much for being here today. From telling me from the very beginning of how you were from Belgium to advocating for these people that that needs their human rights, that need their education. So thank you so much for being here and for sharing your insightful information. I hope a lot of people will benefit from this, and we ourselves will be the ones who continue this mission, inshallah.
Yeah, thank you so much for creating the platform. It's also very important work to put, voices out there and to make people aware of the situation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. So I guess that's all for today, and thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. And that's all from Meet the Minds. Bye.